Yo, what's good, YouTube? Today I got y'all the ultimate settings for Black Ops 7. Much like Black Ops 6 and Warzone, if you don't have the correct settings, you're gonna be at a severe disadvantage. So make sure you guys stay through and actually watch this video. Before I give you guys that settings sauce, if you could do me a favor and break 4 likes on today's video, make sure you hit that subscribe button with all notifications turned on. Now, let's get into it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hop in here and show you guys how to outfit your settings properly. So this is a very similar interface to Black Ops 6 and Warzone, though a lot of your stuff is going to be reset. There was like no virtual carryover, maybe for the full release of the game, but as of right now, there's no carryover on your settings. I had to basically do everything over from scratch. So let's show you guys how to do this properly. So first thing, of course, our aiming input device is going to be controller. Button layout is going to be on tactical flipped. I'll show you guys how to make it flipped. I'd recommend for you guys to play tactical, or to play like bumper jumper, or whatever you guys like actually end up playing, you know, play something, play tactical, don't play default. It's going to be way better. By the way, I did not change any of this, so I'm going to back out of it. What you guys need to do is just keep your stick layout on just on default, and your horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity. I currently play on a 1.4, and this right here, the reason I play on 1.4 is because I don't believe being on a higher sense makes me more accurate. It doesn't impact my movement in a better way. I've stuck with 1.4 for a while now, and the best players in the world do not play on a high sensitivity. So just to put that out there. Now to go on down, we want to turn off this simplified controls preset because we're of course going to customize everything. Our low motor strain preset, keep that off. Bumper ping, you can keep that off. And this is how you change it from tactical to tactical flipped. I prefer to use my top bumpers instead of my bottom triggers. So that is how I have that, and that's what I recommend for you guys to go ahead and use. I think it clicks in a little bit faster, feels a little better to me personally. Not going to make or break your game though. Moving on down here, controller vibration, you can have that on or off. Some people swear up and down that's going to mess you up. I don't think it ever has. My aim feels great, so I don't think it ever messes me up. Now let's get into the dead zone. So this right here is going to be my personal dead zone settings, and I'll show you guys why you should relatively copy them. So your left stick minimum, you want this to be as low as possible. This right here is going to dictate how much of, you know, a dead zone you have before movement, the movement on your stick gets inputted. And we all know Call of Duty is a reactionary arcade FPS. So the less time you have before your input actually registers in game, the better. So you guys want to go ahead and have your left stick minimum as low as possible. If you got stick drift, this is the point where you're gonna have to start raising this up, you know, maybe 1, 2, or 3, something like that. I plan a 0, and that is what feels good to me. You don't have to plan a 0, keep it low. This, however, your left stick max, this is where you want to have it actually quite a bit lower. So your left stick is what we're using for moving around, right? This is how we're going, you know, forwards, backwards, left, right, everything like that. We don't need the full circumference of the analog stick to have the maximum movement kick in. Like, we just want to be able to go for that 60%, and that means that at that 60% mark there, that is the most my stick will need to input for like maximum input. So that allows you to go for your sprint fast, your go backwards faster. It just allows you to react faster, so we don't need that full thing. Right stick minimum, same thing as my left stick. I like having that raw input, so I have that at a 0, but I'd recommend to keep it just as low as you can have it. Lower, generally speaking, is better. Right stick max, this is something you don't want to mess with, really. You want to leave this at 99, leave it at 100. You don't want to change this. This is not beneficial at all to change. Don't lower it. You need that full area when you're aiming, because we're aiming, want to have as much that precision as possible. So you got to keep that full maximum available to us. Now for your left trigger and right trigger, this right here, you can have it at like a 0. I personally just have it at 13 because my SCUF controller, it's got mouse click triggers, and they're so sensitive just by holding the controller. Sometimes they auto click in, and I don't want to randomly, you know, throw something or use a tactical, whatever it may be. I don't need to be doing that. Now jumping in here over to the aiming tab, this is going to be something that's really going to help you guys out. All these settings are seriously super crucial. We're gonna go to the sensitivity multiplier, and this right here, the only thing we have to change is our ADS sensitivity multiplier, and mine's locked right now because I have it on the actual, like, you know, custom sensitivity per zoom. I'll show you guys that, but for everybody out there, if you guys just want to have a base sensitivity multiplier, I would suggest, it says the reset is 1.0. You gotta lower that down to like a 0.9, a 0.8, a 0.7. I played a 0.65, which might seem slow to some people, but I absolutely love that, because what that does is it takes my sensitivity from that 1.4, aka relatively about a 6.6 sensitivity, and it gives me 0.65 of that sense when I'm ADSing, meaning it's very hard for me to come off target because it slows me down enough between the aim assist being strong, me being a good player. It actually really allows me to hit some very nice sticky shots, and you guys want to be lowering down your sensitivity multiplier. It doesn't got to be to what I got, but should not be at a 1.0, especially if you're having trouble with aiming, should not be at a 1.0. Now we can go down here. We're gonna leave that on standard. We'll get to the aiming advanced settings. Of course, your target aim assist is gonna be on. The rest of the stuff right here, about the only thing I'd say is maybe to go in here and make sure your FOV sensitivity scaling is on. I mean, I've just had that on for a long time. I don't know if it legitimately really does anything, but I just kind of leave it on. All right, now to go back in here and hop into the aiming advanced settings. This is also super crucial. Your ADS sensitivity transition timing, this has got to be on instant. We don't need this to be on gradual, after zoom, any of this other shenanigans. Not beneficial. We need this to be on instant. This really helps you out when you do have it right there. We don't need any of that sensitivity, like any of that stuff, like our aim assist to be slow, like to gradually build up. That doesn't help. It's not a good ramp up effect. You want it to be instant. Third person could be on assist. Your aim response curve type, these are the exact same as Black Ops 6 and Warzone, so standard, linear, dynamic. I do believe dynamic is going to be the best thing to run right here. I've seen some people, you know, it's a very small number of people that like to run linear, but I'd say largely dynamic is going to be the best for the mass majority out there, including myself. I think it is an elite move to go and run, so I'd suggest for you guys to try and do that. Aim response curve slope scale, you want to leave this at a 1.0. The reason being is because when you think about, let's say you have an S curve, you have a nice little S curve right there. And when your aim response curve slope scale, when you start lowering that slope scale curve, all it does is start flattening that S to basically be more of a line. So we don't want that. That like takes away the whole, you know, benefit of being on dynamic. And if you drop this down to 0, you're going to be essentially on like linear or something else like that. And we're trying to not be linear. We're trying to actually have the dynamic aim assist. So we have that, and this is where you go to your custom sensitivity per zoom, so you guys can have that on or off. For mass majority, probably doesn't matter. For me, the only reason I have this on is because when I'm going to go snipe, I want my ADS sensitivity multiplier just to be a little bit lower. I notice my own tendency is I have that tendency to overcorrect and pull a little bit too much. When I'm ADSing, when I go to zoom in, I pull a little bit too much. So for me, I try to lower that just a little bit to kind of compensate for that inconsistency in my aiming, and it helps me become a better sniper. So obviously I'm working on being a better sniper, but for me, having these higher zoom optics, just have a bit of a lower sense, allows me to get those quick pop shots off and not, you know, have to feel like I'm, you know, zooming in around and just, I don't need all that. So this is 0.65 works great for everything, but if you guys want to do kind of like what I do, lower it down to me like just a little bit lower, so that way you're more accurate when it comes to longer range engagements. Now hopping into the movement tab, this is pretty simple right here, but all this stuff, like I said, is very crucial. Your sprint assist, actually this should be on tactical sprint assist. This is one thing that I forgot to actually go ahead and toggle. So you guys want to go ahead and have that on. So that is basically your automatic, you know, well, technically there's no tac sprint in this game unless you have like a perk. But you should just have that on. It is just, you know, a nice setting to have. Your sprint assist delay should be on 0. You can have this on or off. I mean, it helps you, of course, be better with movement. So I'd say you guys should definitely just have that on just anyways. Mantle assist, you can have that kind of like low or on. I'd say low or off, actually. If anything, I'm just going to keep it off because I don't want to randomly mantle objects. I don't like that. That gets you killed a lot of times when you're up next to something. You go for a jump shot, and then all of a sudden you're mantling onto a random object, and you come out of ADS and you lose the gunfight. So we don't want that. Crouch assist, we definitely want this to stay off. We don't need anything helping us crouch. Corner slice, I actually like this. I started playing with this on back in like Warzone season 3, 4, somewhere in there, and I've been having it on ever since. I like it. I had it off for a while, but it doesn't really affect your gameplay. Maybe it just makes you a bit of a harder target. Sometimes you go for a nice little cheeky peek around something, it can help you out. Wall jump assist can be off. Active roll assist off. This is actually a new one. So this is like if you're actually going to drop from a height that would result in damage, you can kind of have an active roll assist. I don't really want to zoom out and go to that nice little combat roll thing. So I personally don't have that, but that is a unique setting specific to Black Ops 7. So you guys can definitely have that on if you want to. I personally don't want to. Slide/dive behavior, this should be on hybrid or tap to slide. The reason I say tap to slide is because this is multiplayer and you don't really need as much of like the hybrid. Hybrid specifically was something that I started using because of Warzone, and I do use it in multiplayer, but just, you know, for everybody out there, don't feel bad if you're on tap to slide. I just personally also feel that hybrid, I just engage in my movements faster than I would with tap to slide. So just a little food for thought. Automatic airborne mantle, you can have this on partial or off. I wouldn't suggest to have this as like fully on. That's also like, you know, it says on automatically mantle on an airborne movement towards nearby obstacles. Like, we don't really need to be automatically mantling objects. That will get you screwed sometimes. Sprint restore, keep that on. Slide maintain sprint on. Definitely want to keep those on. Wingsuit activation, just keep it on manual. It's like the same thing for a parachute or whatever. You know, in Warzone, you want to keep that manual. And wall jump activation, you have that on press. We do not want that to be on hold. That's going to take too much time. That's the same thing as if in Warzone you had to go instead of like tap to interact, you're on hold to interact, and you're holding the button in to press, you know, to do something. We don't need that. That takes time, and we're not trying to do that. There's also more time that your thumb would be off the stick pressing buttons, which doesn't allow you to aim or do stuff like that. So we don't want that. Slide/active roll behavior should be on tap to slide. Active roll camera should be on third person or first person. I mean, it's kind of up to you guys what you want to be able to have. And now we can go down in here to the movement advanced settings real quick, as these are also pretty crucial. So sprint/tactical sprint behavior is going to be on toggle. Auto move forward off. Auto door peek is going to be off. Grounded mantle, we can have that on here right now. I might switch this a little bit. Tactical sprint activation should just be on single tap. We don't need it on double tap. That allows you, that just basically means that you're going to be mashing your controller more. We don't need that. Also, there's no real like hack sprint really in this game unless you're using the one perk that allows for it. They kind of did remove it by default, which I'm actually kind of a fan of. I think everyone's gonna, their stick drift in the controller will thank them for that. Plunging underwater can be on trigger, and sprinting door bash can be on, but that's it. Now getting into our combat behaviors right here. So your aim down sight behavior should be on hold, of course. Toggle would be absolutely ridiculous. If you're using that, you are clinically lost in the sauce. Change that over immediately. Weapon mount activation, ADS melee, that's all fine. You can have this on literally whatever. It just matters what you want. I personally don't really care for the body shield stuff. Like, I might go for it every now and again, but largely I don't really go for any of that. I just take people out, and that's really about it. Armor plate behavior, you want that on apply all. C4 detonation, keep that on 1 by 1, so that way you can sauce a C4 snack pack and you can like blow it up and then sauce another one. You know, sometimes you got to detonate those things pretty quick, so don't have it on like all at once. Equipment behavior should be on hold. Manual fire behavior should just be on press, of course. Combat advanced settings, we'll get in that to a sec. And then actually, let's just get in here right now. So this right here is something that you guys want to, of course, be very cognizant of. Change D-pad up behavior. You can keep that on exactly what you want to, but this right here, just keep that on sprint, tactical sprint focus, weapon mount, short delay, or instant. I'll probably just actually change that over to instant. Your interact/reload behavior, because we're on multiplayer, should be on tap to reload. We don't need prioritize interact. That is for Warzone. If you're on Warzone, prioritize interact. If you're on multiplayer, tap to reload, so that way you're not randomly running over guns that are on the ground and accidentally picking them up just from tapping that reload button. We don't need to do that. Mantle cancels reload, keep that on. Sprint cancels reload, we can actually keep that off, because you know, we actually like it when we're able to sprint around and still get a reload in or something like that, because you do move decently quick, so it does help you. Don't have that on. Akimbo behavior should be on independent, of course, and then the rest of the stuff here doesn't really matter. All right, so ladies and gents, that is all the settings I got for you guys here today. That is what you need to know for your controller. If you guys enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe, check out this other video on screen, and I'll see you all next time.